what if the reason that people don't remember your event, your brand, or even your business is because they actually never felt anything? Today's guest built an entire business around one powerful idea, and that was that when you create an event or an experience, you have to connect with the people. You have to connect with them so that the memory of the event, of the experience, is long after that moment has passed. So today's guest is Roxanne LeBlanc, and she is the founder and creative director of Vaudeville Entertainment. It's an immersive entertainment company that helps organizations create unforgettable connection driven experiences. I love this. And she has built her business through relationships, not cold leads. And she turns her connections into high level opportunities with corporate clients and luxury venues. She specializes in designing interactive environments that don't just entertain, but they bring people together in a way that lasts beyond those events themselves. And I love that. I used to be an event coordinator, so I know
Oh, so
how
you already know.
I know about events. I do. So Roxanne believes that the right connections at the right time can change everything. And she's built her career by leaning into that truth. So welcome, Roxanne. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Zelda. I'm a big fan of Success Through Connections. I've been listening to your podcast. I love the work that you're doing, and I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're so glad to have you as well. So I mentioned to you before that I actually was in the event business for 10 years. So I know it's important to create an extreme event, something that people remember and they take away with them long after the event. But we're going to dive into that deeper because after 10 years, which was many years ago, I got into real estate.
I could see the jump. I could see that. Yeah.
So I moved on. But you built your entire business through relationships, not cold leads. So take us back. What was that actually like in the very beginning?
Back in 2018, when I started the company, I had a woman, Maxine, who I'm still very close with. She's still one of my mentors, who has just been an incredible resource for me. I started I started in the dinner theater scene. I've always been a performer and entertainer. I majored in it in college, and I knew that I wanted to bring to life traditional vaudeville style experiences. I'm very passionate about food and dinner theater, so I found a woman, Maxine, who runs Maxine's on Shine, a downtown Michelin recommended restaurant here in Orlando, Florida. She partnered with me to take her slowest night of the week, which at the time back in 2018 was Tuesday nights. I walked up to her one day at the bar. I'd seen her around town, and I was like, this is the woman I'm supposed to know. And I walked straight up to her and I was like, hi, I'm Roxanne. What's your slowest night of the week? What would you do if I told you that I could sell it out? And I did for years until COVID hit in 2020. But we did immersive style cabaret dinner theater experiences. And we actually, after COVID and like everything calmed down with that, now we're back and we're still doing shows there. But for me, that was just getting out of your box, you know what I mean? Knowing exactly what you want, not being afraid to go after it. You know what I mean? Like rejection is just redirection. And I'm a big believer that if you don't ask, you'll never know. And I'm so grateful that I took a chance on that, on myself and that belief in myself, and that she took a chance on me, because giving vaudeville that first stage to stand on back in 2018 was really the doorway to so many incredible experiences that happened after that. Every person that came to see the show, it wasn't just an audience member. It was a guest that I wanted to know, that I wanted to work with, that I wanted to know me, that I wanted to create amazing experiences with. And so we've produced over 25 shows at that venue. We have actually a Moulin Rouge inspired one coming up on April 29th that I'm super excited about. And so it kind of just started with really looking at other powerhouse women that I was inspired by, that I wanted to be like, that I wanted to know. I don't think I would be the person that I am today if I did not really invest in mentorship. I think that is huge. You know what I mean? Like I look at women that are maybe a little bit older than me, are doing the work kind of like you know what I mean? That I'm like, wow, like that is so inspiring. You are who you hang out with. I'm a huge believer of that. You hang out with, 10 millionaires, you'll be the 11th. So I just really try to stay in social circles that inspire me. And Maxine's was definitely one of the original ones that really did that.
So, how did you transition to working with other companies and teaching them and showing them how to create memorable events that people will
Well,
take after them long after they leave the event?
exactly. I think it's a really great question. I'm passionate about partnership and collaboration. I think that especially in the entertainment industry, it can be very cutthroat and niche, you know what I mean? And I don't like to look at any industry like that. I look at You know what I mean? Competition is where the bottom lives, where collaboration is where the real magic happens. And so for me to answer your question, it was going to events that even if I wasn't booked for them, especially if I was booked for them, right? Like I wouldn't just show up and perform and go home. You know, that's, I feel like a low vibe mentality. I would show up early. I would connect with as many people as humanly possible, whether I was working it or not. But especially if I was working it, it wasn't just, you know, punch your ticket in, punch your ticket out. No, I'm there to shake hands. I'm there to kiss babies. I'm there to meet people. I'm there to network. Networking is huge. And it's not just like a transactional networking, it's like an intentional networking experience. Like I want to know as many people in that room as possible because you never know. Like I live in a huge international city like Orlando. Our convention center did more business than Vegas this year. And it's my responsibility, I feel, especially in my industry, to partner and collaborate with as many people as possible because events don't just come together with one person. It takes an entire community, a tribe, and I'm big on tribe mentality. I don't want to be the only person, you know, if I'm the most social person in the room, I feel like I'm in the wrong room. And I get compliments on my energy a lot. People are like, "Oh my God, I love your energy. I love your energy." And it's genuinely because I am so passionate about connecting with people. Like it fuels me. Like I'm such a social person, and some people feel drained in those interactions, like networking, but I genuinely feel like this is my purpose. This is my calling.
So let me ask you, when let's say you work with other companies, right? That will
Mhm.
create events. So, I mean, I know when I sell real estate and I do a broker's open, I don't just have a little bit of food and some mimosas there. I actually give them an experience. I give them something to
Exactly.
do. So what is it that how do you guide a client of yours into creating that experience that's going to be unforgettable? What do
100%.
you teach them to do so it's unforgettable?
Well, oftentimes I'm brought in as entertainment first, and then
Okay.
I build that trust and rapport.
Right.
So, what that would look like in theory, I don't want to drop any clients specifically, but I have a client that I'm very fond of, I'll put it that way. And originally, I was brought in to create these incredible timeshare dinner theater experiences for traveling people coming in and out of Orlando. And so I put together an incredible circus dinner theater show for their members, like exclusive members. And then once we had that kind of on lock, then I used opportunities to be like, hey, what if we kind of took it up a notch by doing something a little bit more immersive, like a murder mystery dinner theater show? Or what about in between the acts, we do like tableside guest interaction? Or maybe how about we get the guests involved in the show so that
Right.
that's, you know what I'm saying? So I love first you got to build trust, right?
So
First
wait a
you have
minute. So you're saying, because I think I misunderstood. So you are the entertainment,
to
bring
provide
in
all
the
the entertainment.
entertainment. So if
Yes.
it's a corporate client and they're wanting to do an event, they hire you to come in there and do this event. And you do different types of events so that the customers, guests will remember it.
Exactly. But we
Okay.
also produce our own events. It's just oftentimes like we start with entertainment, and then after we develop that rapport and that trust with that client, then if they need help with like event coordination, management, everything from decor to content to marketing to, you know what I mean? But first, typically, it starts with entertainment,
So
which
tell
is
me,
funny because
what is it that companies often they get wrong when they think about, oh, I need to create an experience? What do they get wrong about that?
That's a really good question, Zelda. I think, I was going to say that I think that entertainment is one of the last things that are considered, right? And I get it, like food, valet parking, time of year, ticketing, like these are like high things that people need to consider first. And so entertainment's always on the bottom of the list. But I try to tell my clients, and not just from a sales perspective, right? Like I'm being genuinely honest when I say that a guest experience is so important. And when they come in and it feels cookie cutter, or it feels watered down, or it feels like they've seen it and done it all before. There's nothing new, fresh, exciting, engaging. There's nothing for them to do but just kind of stand with their, you know what I mean? Like we need icebreakers. We need to help guide people to be able to connect with each other, to take the pressure off. You know what I mean? People are tired at the end of the day and now they have to go. Like I said, I understand deeply that not everybody is energized by interaction. Like for some people, it does genuinely drain them. And so I create experiences that kind of does the work for them. I'm working on one right now where, because I'm really passionate about networking and I've been to a lot of networking events. How cool would it? I'd love to ask you, because you're like, this is your field of expertise. I'm very passionate about going to these networking events, but one thing I've noticed is you go there and this is where the transactional thing happens, is like you just want to connect with as many people as possible. And so it's almost like we're prioritizing quantity over quality. And to me, how cool would it be is if you go to an event and you're already connected, like whether that's a CSV file that's sent out before the event. So everybody already has everybody's contact information. Imagine that. Imagine if you show up at an event for networking to meet people and you've already received a downloadable file of everybody. It's part of the ticket, the terms and conditions. You click the box, your information will be. So that way, when you share up, you're fully present. Imagine how cool that would be. You could just like, connect with people without worrying about, oh, let me find your socials, or oh, let me grab your phone number, or
But
oh,
if
blah, blah,
that
blah.
list was so, that list is so, let's be realistic. You go
Hmm.
into, and I go to a lot of networking events.
Yeah,
You go into a network and you got that file of all these people. How many of those names are you thinking you're going to really remember? And what do you really know
right.
about them from that list? I don't try
Yeah.
to go into a networking event where there's a lot of people and say, how many people can I meet? I go in there and say,
Exactly.
I'd like to connect with 1 to 3 people. That's it. 1 to 3 new
Yeah,
people is all I even, because my brain cannot process more than that. And
exactly.
then you
I'd
take their
rather that
card, you
genuine
know?
connection. You know what I mean? I just would love an event where I could go to and not even have to focus on that. Like just genuine specialty, like boutique curated experiences designed for people who are all there with the same intention. I think that's where real magic
So
happens.
what I tell people is when you can't find the right group to connect with, create your own event.
Exactly.
Create your own magic. And I did that. I
Exactly.
have a women's lunch group that meets every other month. And sometimes I'll add
Okay.
a few, it's very curated, it's by invitation. Somebody once said, hey, can I bring a guest? And I basically said, no,
There you go. You're
no,
creating
no.
exact. No, I love that. That's exactly what I'm
And I
talking
want
about.
these women to get to know each other much better, and they network and they get to do business with each other if it leads that, or referrals and what have you. So that's an experience. To me, an experience. I learned this from my days when I was an event planner for 10 years. I had my own company and I did the events for the corporations. And the one thing I learned was you always want to leave them with something, whether it's a little swag or just something memorable. And so now in real estate, I do the same thing with an open house or with just my one-on-one client. I always leave them with something to make it a memorable experience. You want them to leave with more.
Yeah, 100%. For
So
me
if
with
you
the show, guest interaction is always a huge plus. I think that finding those people who really want to be a part of it, whether it's a VIP client, like somebody like a birthday or someone celebrating an anniversary, obviously the children, you know what I mean? I always try to get them involved as possible.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember for Halloween, I was doing an open house and it was around Halloween time. And I thought, oh gosh, there's going to be some children coming here. So I had a little activity center for the children with some coloring of some pumpkin pictures and stuff like that. So don't forget the children when you're doing an event. And it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be anything really. It's like
It's so
whatever it
special.
is. You
Things
make
like that
it's
really
like when you go
resonate.
to the doctor's office and or a little children's when I have grandchildren and I see the little play area there for the children. You give them something to do while they're not always on
Yeah.
a screen. So
Yeah.
if have you ever gone into an idea or you're working with somebody and that whatever it was you created, it led to something more. It led to you getting another job or it led to another
All the time.
relationship.
Oh, all
Can
the
you
time.
share one that really resonates with you?
Oh, absolutely. I have this overwhelming feeling of gratitude, even just hearing that question, because if it wasn't for those experiences, like I shudder to, like cold calling is nice and everything, but those in-person conversations that have led to so many amazing opportunities that I'm just so grateful for. I used to waitress, right? Like we were all, and like those opportunities to take care of my tables and to really foster a relationship with regulars that were coming in. Or there was a couple that I had for a while that recommended me for an amazing project that I still work with now to this day that has been such a rewarding experience. So I never underestimate anytime I'm like out in the wild or like on a job or anything like that, like I'm always on. And it's not like a put on situation. It's because you really never know. And I'm also a big believer that like timing of things, like divine timing, yes, but also there are people that I've met years ago, years and years ago, and I still follow up with them, and nothing ever came of it. No work, no nothing like that. But it's crazy to see how we've all grown and come together and grown apart and come together again, and how they've referred me to other people. And it's, you never know, like something that could have happened years and years ago because they thought of you. And I launched a referral program recently to kind of reward those incentives with people that have always kind of been
Oh,
in our circle and like putting us on. But I did get a lot of incredible work out of waitressing, which was really funny because you don't
oh,
really
I'm
think about it.
sure. I've gotten some
Yeah.
business for somebody who was for a different group that I led for several years, and she was our usual staff member in that private dining area. And when she was ready to sell her house, she knew I was a realtor, and so she would, for a couple of years, she'd say, "We're not moving yet, but we're going to. My husband's going to be transferred." And so she would ask me questions throughout the years, and then 3 years later, she goes, "Okay, Zelda, we're ready to sell."
And like you had to stay on that for 3 years
Yeah,
just out of the support and help and like passion of being there for that person.
yeah.
Like it's amazing when you're in it for the right reasons, how then it transpires to be in
Yes.
your favor. You know what I mean? So for me, I've had a lot of incredible success through connections that I just fostered and nurtured and treated like genuine friends as opposed to just colleagues or clients.
Absolutely. They become your friends, and my clients do become my friends. I tell them that all the time. It's, you're going to be stuck with me forever now.
Yeah, I know,
But I don't
exactly,
let you
exactly.
go. I don't let you go. So, what has connection meant to you in your own life beyond the business?
Ooh, she's coming with the heavy hitters today. I love it. When I think connection, I know this is like immature or like woo or whatever, but I genuinely think of love, love for what I do, love for others. And like I just move from a place of like gratitude, abundance, and love. I think that connection to me is all about respecting each other because everybody's like going through something, right? Everybody has their own story to tell, and being a safe space to allow people to open up to you in that way. I think that that's what I think of when I think of connection outside of my business. I think of being a safe space for others to be able to come to and know that they have not just like a business resource, but like a friend, like we talked about, like a friend resource. I think about friendship, true friendship, where you can really lean on each other for support and tr times can be tough, you know what I mean? So I like to be that for others personally.
So, when somebody is wanting to do an event, and maybe they're a small company on a very small budget, what are some things that they could do to make an unforgettable event on a very tight budget?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say to think about yourself, put yourself in the guest's shoes.
Mhm.
And start from like the moment they arrive. Actually, before that, I would start from weeks before the event. Like, how did they find out about your event? Was it a phone call? Was it a text message? Was it a Facebook event? Was it an invitation in the mail? Like creating that experience for them. You know what I mean? If it's a shoestring budget, then I would imagine that it's a smaller guest list, in which case that personal touch, like a phone call, like telling them, and then a follow-up with a text message with all the event details so they have it to reference. A Facebook event, these are all free things that you could do. So I would start weeks before the event. And then at the actual event, I would make each person feel super considered by maybe asking them, like, what kind of foods do you? I would make them feel like they're a part of it, right? So, what kind of foods do you guys want? Here, I created this Spotify playlist. I want to share it with you guys in case you want to add music to it. I would make it feel more collaborative than, like I said, I'm all about partnership and collaboration. I think it's important to have maestro energy, someone who's kind of like overseeing the project management, but also like allowing release the control of having to be everything for everyone, especially with a lower budget event. You don't want to do that. You want to allow everyone to have a sense of authority, and you want people to show up feeling like not only they're guests invited to this incredible experience, but they're a part of creating the incredible experience. It takes the load off and it makes people more invested emotionally, and it makes it overall a better and enjoyable time for everyone involved. So first I would start with that mentality, and then at the event, I would create budget friendly things that we could all do, activities that like don't really, whether that's a game. Like I said, I'm really big on like icebreakers, a fun game, or maybe even encouraging like a theme, like everybody dresses up. And so like automatically everyone's wearing the same color or the same, you know what I mean? Like 1920s or
Give it a
masquerade or whatever.
theme. Give it a theme.
Yeah, give it a theme, lighten your load, let loose of like the control to like narrate everything, allow people to participate and feel invested. And then you'll be really surprised how people will show up. And then the event will be even higher budget than you had, because when it's all on you to create the sponsors and everything, like you're almost doing yourself a disservice. So allow yourself to partner and to collaborate.
Well, that's some very good advice you gave. So get them involved and let them collaborate. So tell us, how
Yeah.
can our listeners contact you if they want to learn more?
Oh, well, I'm Pirate Queen Roxy on Instagram and Roxanne LeBlanc on Facebook and LinkedIn. Yeah, reach out to Vaudeville Entertainment online via our booking page or any of our social media. Check us out. We service communities in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Tampa, Orlando. We also have a troupe out in Los Angeles, and we work with some incredible top tier talent on all sorts of different events, including dinner theater shows, corporate events, private parties. So we would love to make your event extra special.
Sounds great. So I have one final question. It is our signature question, and that would be, have you ever had an opportunity present itself to you because of a connection that you had, or you were able to open the door for someone else because of a connection?
Yes, majority of my opportunities have come through personal connections, and I'm very grateful for them. Two come to mind. Specifically, one where I was on a team and I kept in contact with their food and beverage director,
Mhm.
and he was able to recommend me for an incredible corporate client that I still work with to this day, just by staying in contact with him and, becoming a friend of his and hanging out with him personally. And I'm really grateful for him. Another one was a girlfriend of mine who I used to teach dance lessons, and she was one of my students. And she recommended me for an entertainment director position that I ended up taking for a while. That was an amazing learning opportunity. So you just never know. Put yourself out there is the big thing, is you never know if you don't try, and you're not going to find those connections behind a screen. Oftentimes you have to go, like I said, into the wild and
Yeah.
really, yeah, just I would just say first and foremost, believe in yourself, allow yourself to ask the hard questions, to really just put yourself out there. You never know. Follow up, be really good on your follow up and build those relationships, because ultimately, like, that's where true success lies, not
Yeah.
just in business, but personally too.
Very true. Absolutely. Well, that is our show today. To our listeners out there, be sure you hit the subscribe and follow button so that you never miss a single episode of Success Through Connection, because we release a new episode every single Tuesday of the year. So remember also that success does not happen in isolation. It happens because of those connections that you have. Today, connections are the power move and connections are your currency. I'm Zelda Greenberg, your host, and I'll see you next week with a new episode of Success Through Connections.